I'm still your brother. Nothing's changed.
Everything's changed. I don't know if it can ever be the same again.
I'm finally out of my cage. But freedom comes with a cost.
Yep, everything has changed. For Dexter, for Deborah, for Lewis. Big time for Lewis, huh? I mean, I think we should have a moment of silence for Lewis Green. And now that silence is over. And welcome back to the Dexter Wrap-Up Podcast for 703, Buck the System, which was written by Jace Richdale, directed by Stefan Schwartz. Me, I'm Scott Reynolds. I'm a writer-producer here on Dexter. I'll be your host or guide or, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, offering you more behind-the-scenes look at all things Dexter. You're wondering what we're going to do here? We're going to do a little. We're going to catch up on what happened this episode, a little recapping. Then I'm going to interview C.S. Lee, Masuka. And then when that's done, we have compiled questions from you, the listeners and fans, questions about last week's episode. And I'm going to ask showrunner Scott Buck and the writer of last week's episode those questions. So your question probably is, how do you get your questions on next week's podcast? Let me tell you. Either hit me up on facebook.com/Dexter, or you can Twitter me at twitter.com/SHO_Dexter. So either post or Twitter, and make sure that you hashtag it Dexter Wrap Up so we know that's your question. But here's the thing. You better do it quick after each episode because we pick these on Monday night and answer them on Tuesday so that they could air for the next podcast. And if you're one of these people that watches the episode on like Thursday night, you know what? We're just not going to answer your question, and you just have to live with it. That's the way we roll. Anyway, let's get back to this thing. That's a lot of Dexter we had going on in 703, right? We got Dexter running some game behind Deborah's back, trying to manipulate her to understand his dark passenger's needs, help her understand why he needs to kill and she shouldn't try to stop him. And I'll tell you what, back in March when we were breaking this episode, it felt really good to sort of get back to an old-fashioned Dexter vet stalk and kill. It felt especially good doing it with such an evil bastard like Ray Speltzer, this Minotaur gravedigger gone crazy. The reason why we picked someone like this is we thought a bad guy like Speltzer would give Deborah a reason to come around to Harry's way of thinking, especially after the maze and the subsequent kill of that poor waitress. Though, I don't know, as good as Dexter's plan was, Deborah didn't exactly give Dexter the same ringing endorsement to kill that Harry gave him back in the day, right? But he got to move back home, hang with Harrison. That's all good, right? We also have Isaac, the Ukrainian gangster, tracking down Victor's last few hours on this earth via the GPS chip that Victor took off the dead Kaja, which led him to Dexter's boat, the Slice of Life, where, as we said earlier, he found Lewis trying to sink Dexter's boat as he drilled and said, "Kiss my ass, you ginger freak," which cracks me up every time. About that whole sort of sequence where Isaac killed Lewis, we had some pretty heated discussions in the writers' room about the merits of Isaac getting Dexter's name so soon. If you watch the show, most seasons it takes us a while to actually connect up the big bad with Dexter. But I don't know. This season we're going for it. There's no slow boil here. And personally, for me, there's nothing more exhilarating than writing yourself into a corner each week and then later figuring out how to get yourself out of it or get Dexter out of it. Oh, finally, the other thing we have going on in this episode, we got Nadia and Quinn and their affair heating up. Quinn, poor guy, can't help but think with his penis, which happens, right? Speaking of thinking with your penis, we have Vince Masuka in my office. C.S. Lee, you want to know about C.S.? He'll tell you about that. And he's also ready to dish on Masuka. So, yeah, you're going to learn how to do the laugh. So let's do this. So we're sitting here with C.S. Lee, a.k.a. Masuka, Vincent?
Either. Sometimes.
So Dexter, it is Vincent, but it's Vince mostly.
Vince mostly, but Dexter sometimes does.
Vincent.
Yeah, he calls me Vincent when he wants something.
Yeah, it's just like a parent.
Yeah.
So we're sitting here with C.S. Lee. Thanks for coming on out for the episode 703 of the Dexter podcast. It's good to be sitting across from you in your fit self.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
I feel like you're like one move away from like the next Fast and Furious with how fit you've gotten over the course of every year. Because you're like running marathons or something.
Yeah,
now.
but I'm also getting older, so you start to realize you have to do something to sort of counteract the.
But you're married too. That's the weird. It's like 3 years.
Yeah.
How many years?
3 years. Yeah,
3 years.
Yeah.
Usually it takes about 10 to start going. Oh,
Right.
what happened to me?
That's true. That's true.
But you're not that guy.
No.
You're a professional.
Yeah, I am. Actually, some the weight thing. When I started Dexter, I was not in my most fit shape.
You weren't unfit. No, not at all.
No, but I thought that I was actually appropriate for the role. Actually,
Yeah.
because I thought he'd be a little bit funnier if he was a little bit not ripped, but just
a little
doughy. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the way it started. And I don't know, just over the years, I think the character kind of evolves and changes, and we're here now. So
he wanted to actually try to live out some of the things he thinks about online all the time.
yeah, exactly.
Maybe if I get some pecs.
Yeah, exactly. It's if the getting the women isn't working, so something's gotta if you get some
change.
pecs. Yeah, and I think maybe by next year he's gonna have an 8-pack.
Which would be good for his J-date profile.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. My picture will actually look like me.
So you've been acting for how long?
Oh, wow. I've been acting since high school. So
It's a childhood thing. Did you know back in the day?
Not really, no. I mean, although in 4th grade, a production of Snow White caught my eye, and I ended up auditioning and got the role of Sleepy.
Okay.
Probably because of my eyes. I look sleepy all the time. I went to an all-white, elementary school, and I was
Let's make him sleepy.
Yeah, exactly. But it was a musical, and we sang, and I had a great time. But
So
it
you
was
had a voice. You can sing.
well, I don't know. I think I enjoyed getting up in front of people and kind of performing. Although I didn't do anything until high school. Actually, that's when I started to sort of get into acting and all that kind of stuff.
So you were in the theater department.
I was in the theater department. Yes.
And you knew. So you got that bug right around there. The people didn't chase you away.
No.
It was all good.
I got in pretty late actually. It wasn't until my sophomore year, my late sophomore year, I started getting involved. It was really weird at my high school. I was a jock. I played football.
Yeah.
And for some reason, all the star football players played football and they did musicals.
That is.
And
Where was this at?
This was in Vancouver, Washington.
Oh, wow.
And so you would see the team
Sounds like
captain.
Glee.
It was kind of like that, yeah. And it was really kind of, I found it really interesting because you'd see these big linebackers and the captain of the football team be like on the football field, and then you see them on stage going, "I love you,
Guys and dolls."
It was like I found that really interesting. It's
Yeah.
like how does that happen? And so I just took a class, and at the time I actually wanted to do film directing. So, and that's why I got involved with acting, and that's how I got started.
And then you went to which of the big schools did you go to?
I went to Cornish College of the Arts
Right.
in Seattle for my BFA, and then Yale School of Drama for my master's.
Drama. Yeah. And then you came out here.
No, I spent about 8 years in New York.
So
acting.
you come from stage.
I come from stage. I was acting
right
in New York, pounding the pavement, eating Papaya's hot dogs.
Yeah. And now there's one here in Hollywood.
Oh, is there really?
There is. Not you could walk to it from here.
Get out, really?
Yeah, just off of Hollywood. I forget what street it's on, but you
yeah.
could walk to it from here.
Oh man, I'm missing the snap of that hot dog.
It's
when you
there.
bite into it.
It's a good place. Even I'm from Chicago, and I even appreciate Papaya's hot
Yeah,
dog.
it's good. I mean,
it's good stuff.
yeah.
And then, how'd you get on Dexter?
Well, it was just a regular audition in New York. When I read
so you were in New York when that happened?
Oh yeah, I was in New York.
Wow.
Yeah, I was in New York, and I read the script and sides and did the audition. I came back for a callback for one of the producers and didn't hear anything back for a long time. I want to say maybe a month.
Right. So you forgot about it practically.
I was like, that was a really good script. I wish it had gone further. But then, I get a call from my agent. And he's like, pack your bags, you're going to Miami. I'm like, oh, cool. So then it was just like the whirlwind. I just ended up there, and
Masuka was born.
Masuka was born
From the very first moment you come on screen, it's like we know who you are.
Oh yeah, he's just perving on Jennifer Carpenter's character. You know, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Do you find now, how many years this has been? We're going into 7 years.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself thinking like Masuka now a little bit more than you did back in the day, or have you always sort of secretly under the radar thought Masuka like, or do you always think, what would Masuka think about that?
No, I don't really necessarily find myself thinking like Masuka.
Well.
Yeah, I mean it's an easy switch to turn on and off, you know,
Yeah.
because it's so much fun to play, and I have a great time playing the character, with my fellow cast.
Yeah.
So I get a lot of people asking me, "Oh, are you as pervy in real life?"
People ask me that
Yeah.
about you.
Oh, really?
Not about me,
Yeah.
but about you.
Yeah, I mean,
Or they go, do you always think that way too? And I'm like, no.
But the funny thing is that although the character has evolved into what he is, at first the first couple of years, I did draw from a few friends who, which I won't name, but they have a very kind of sick sense of humor and they're funny. I mean, they're harmless. They're not evil. Yeah. But I did.
He's not evil. No.
Well, he's not evil.
No.
I don't think so. We haven't seen season
Not
8 yet. But I did draw from a few friends, which was kind of hilarious because when I tell them that, they kind of laugh. But it's true.
And point at each other.
Yeah, exactly. But my friend he's exactly like Masuka. He's got a weird laugh. He's pervy and he's funny. And I don't know, maybe someday you'll meet him.
That'd be good. When you got the role, did you have like suddenly start meeting with other like CSI technicians or anything like that, or did you deep research into it, or how did you handle all of that?
I didn't. I mean, a little bit of like forensic, just kind of research, but not a whole lot. Because
You watched a couple episodes of CSI Miami.
I don't know. Maybe in retrospect, maybe I should have. But
No.
I'm always I'm the type of actor. I don't like to come in with a notebook filled with the background of my character because honestly, this that is the way I was taught. You do what you need to do. And that's it. It's the most economical way.
Sort of find it on the day.
Well, I mean, you find it on the day, but also if you have to prepare and research, then you do. But I found it at the time when we were shooting like the first season. It just, you guys, the writers, did such a good job of coming up with the words and stuff. I really didn't need to. It was self-explanatory. I didn't really need to research everything. So in that way, my job was easy. You know?
And then. Something that strikes me whenever I watch an episode of Dexter is, like there's the briefing room scenes, the bullpen scenes where you guys are all sitting around, and everyone's talking to each other, you're chiming in, and then there's like the pause where you got to let Dexter have his voiceover moment. How do you handle that on set? People ask me that all the time because it comes off very natural on screen. It does, but on set, it's a different. Is it different or is it?
No.
Do you guys pause or you just?
I mean, sometimes we do pause, and sometimes it does. You would think it feels awkward, but when you're in the scene and you're playing the scene, you don't really have time to worry about the awkwardness. Because you got to think about, okay, what is my character thinking, or how is he feeling? So I have enough to do to fill in that awkward gap.
You're always pretty much every scene you have is with Dexter.
I have a lot of scenes with
him. When you are on screen, you're usually in the lab with Dexter. You're sort of the rare bird that way. I mean, I guess this season, after what Deb found out, she's got a lot of scenes with him too.
A lot.
She's trying to worm her way through this whole thing. Let's talk about 703. You watched it the other night?
I did. Great episode. Really, I hadn't seen any of the episodes for season 7, and that was the first one I saw. And I got to admit, I asked my wife if she wanted to watch it with me. So she watched it with me, but the whole time she was asking me questions. Okay, why is this? Why is that? I was like, honey, I told you can't ask me any questions. I'm not going to answer any questions, But so we watched it together, and we both really enjoyed it.
Yeah. You were talking about the director. About how
Stephen Schwartz.
You had a good time on set with him, and then
Yeah, Steven's kind of amazing because he's a very easygoing guy, but yet he knows what he wants.
Yeah.
And it seems like he's not doing a whole lot of directing. You know what I mean? I mean, that's what it sometimes, I get that feeling. Some directors sort of, they're in that director mode. They demand this, demand that. But Steven's kind of like, okay. And when I saw the episode and just the way his compositions and stuff was like really good.
You knew what he was up to.
Yeah. I mean, really fit in with the theme of the episode and the way it was written, and everything just sort of felt like it kind of came together.
Yeah. And then you had you can now say that you're one of the few people on Dexter who has been stabbed in the throat by Dexter Morgan and survived.
Yes, and that was a really fun scene to shoot.
Walk us through it. Let's start a little bit earlier. So you get a script.
Yeah.
And then do you get it the day before the read through? Do you?
It depends. Usually like a week out.
Do you read it before, or do you read it or do you sort of experience it at the read through?
Sometimes I read it before. Sometimes I don't. Just really kind of depends.
Right. So, but you saw almost immediately you get killed.
Yeah.
Did you have like a brief moment when you read that spot that said Dexter stabs Masuka in the throat?
Yeah.
That you went.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that was definitely a brief moment. I was like, "Oh, what?"
Because that is the scary part. Unlike most shows, anybody could die on Dexter.
No, this is true.
At any moment, even I can't imagine a scenario in which you would die, but this is the show in which it could happen.
It's true, and after you see the first 3 episodes of season 7, you understand that statement. But I will tell you this: if I do go out, I'm going out with a bang.
And then you have this whole carrying on from last season. You have this whole problem with interns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
me
and interns do not.
Masuka does not pick well.
No.
Your first intern, what was he? He passed out.
He passed out from seeing a dead body.
The large guy, but you felt like that. Masuka felt like that was the right choice to pick that guy.
He was the best on book on paper.
Right, and then you went with your other gut.
And then I was like, screw the paper. I want TNA.
My talk.
Yeah, exactly. I need some boobie in my face, and which was Bria Grant.
Right, she was fantastic.
She was fantastic.
And then you had that. That's one of the great things about Masuka is that you catch us off guard. Masuka catches us off guard all the time because we just expect like the joke, the pervy line, and then there's these moments where we see the real hurt and damaged Masuka.
Yeah.
When you found out that she stole the hand.
Yeah.
And it was selling it on eBay.
Yeah.
Or whatever that.
Yeah.
It wasn't eBay, but whatever the thing was.
Whatever the thing was.
For TV.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then you had this like amazing moment that made people I know tear up.
Oh, really?
For Masuka.
Oh, good.
Which is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I always think as an actor, that's it's more interesting. I mean, we've seen all the jokester, the pervy side of him. So if you can catch your audience off guard and show them a side of the character that they haven't seen before, then I think you're doing the audience a favor.
Yeah.
And I think they appreciate it more because let's face it, the audience, they're a smart audience.
Yeah.
And you got to give them credit.
Yeah. You were so hurt and damaged.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted to hug you. Lots of girls I know I just wanted to hug her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get the numbers. Line them up.
And then you picked Lewis.
And then Lewis, because he was a
bit of a suck up to you. To Masuka.
Yeah. But he had the computer skills
to
fix some stuff, and he was working for a while.
Yeah. And then and then you find out that another sort of amazing scene in episode 3.
Yeah, I was quite happy with the take they used, and I felt that was appropriate because talk
about that for a second. The takes that you use.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, I mean, initially on paper, okay, he's angry because Lewis has stabbed him in the back and gone behind his back and sold this arm off, and Masuka could lose his job over this. This is, you're dealing with evidence that's lost, or stolen, and he's, Masuka's part of it. So, there's a few different ways I think you can approach this type of scene is you can do it angrily, which I think is legitimate, and you can.
So you did a take like that.
I did a take like that.
I remember seeing the dailies.
Yeah, and some other takes I did more of as that I was hurt, that I was disappointed.
Yeah, because Masuka thought he was a buddy.
Yeah, and I think you can. It's good to give the director a few options, and I'm glad he went with this one because you don't necessarily see Masuka angry all the time, and I agree. And when I saw that scene in 703, I was like, oh yeah, okay. I was like, it kind of gave it a nice punch.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and which was I thought appropriate because it added to the Lewis's flame, just his just like I'm just like pricking, the whole Dexter Lewis thing is just like it's adding to the fire.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Yeah. Whereas if he chose the sort of hurt, disappointed take, I don't think that necessarily would have added to Lewis's. Right. You know what I mean. So everything sort of came together.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that was great too. And it made it different than the Brea version where because you were genuinely hurt.
I was. Yeah, because
girlfriend.
Yeah,
I thought you liked me.
Exactly.
We've all been through that.
Yeah, hey, the crotch always thinks differently. So with Lewis, the crotch was uninvolved.
Because it's such an odd friendship between Dexter and Masuka. I mean, definitely a little more one-sided because Masuka, I feel like Masuka believes this guy is one of my best friends. Yeah. And Dexter doesn't really know how to have friends necessarily in the same way that normal people do.
No.
But he cares for Masuka. It's very clear, especially at this point.
Yeah, no, definitely. And in some ways, I think Masuka feels that Dexter is, a little bit kind of like, sometimes prissy and like, kind of shy and, you know what I mean? Which is funny because obviously, we know who Dexter is as an audience. So, but in Masuko's mind, he's like, sometimes you can be a it's like, okay, that's all right. It's just my,
And what's funny about that is, my son's a little bit of a nerd. He's like 11, but sometimes I watch him surround himself with like lesser nerds in some ways, so it's funny that Masuka has that strange sort of friendship with,
exactly,
like I can guide him, I can help him out,
exactly. You feel more useful,
Do you feel like Masuka is consciously trying to shock everyone around him, or do you feel like Masuka this is all very genuine, the things that he says, it's like, in other words, look, we've all sort of worked with people that are very filthy to cover up for something. Well, how do you work that through? How Masuka is?
I definitely don't think he says things to shock people. Right. That would get
annoying after a while.
It would get annoying, and also it's if you're going to play that, it's the amount of ammunition you have is very thin. So I play it as if there's something deeper connected with that. Yeah. There's something deeper in his personality, in his look on life that makes him behave like that. Yeah. And I think part of that is because he's an extremely lonely person. Yeah. And he's tried all sorts of ways to gain friends and gain acceptance. Yeah. And he's found that behaving this way, people actually like him and think he's funny. Yeah. And they respond. Yeah. So I think over the years he's grown into that person. Yeah. But it comes from a deep seed of, I think, something real, other than the fact that I'm just for shock value. Yeah. Which is more interesting, I think.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. Yeah. It does feel genuine.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like if he was on his deathbed, I think you would learn that he's just a lonely guy. Yeah. And none of this shock stuff, he wasn't saying to hurt people or to, hurt girls or anything. He just wanted, to be in the party with everyone else.
Yeah. Which works, especially among a crew of homicide guys, Zayas and Quinn. Yeah. Yours and Quinn's relationship is very funny too. Was it 702 or 703 70. Oh, no, it's later. Forget it.
It's later. Okay.
We're not going to talk about that.
Not talk about that.
That didn't happen.
Yeah. But they do have a very interesting relationship because, Quinn does give Masuka about this and that. Yeah. And I think Masuka takes that as a challenge because, he sees, all of Quinn's faults too, and it's like, come on, dude, you're as bad as I am.
Yeah.
Don't be on a high horse.
I'm trying to remember which season it was that Quinn was almost taking Masuka under his wing a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
He took him to the strip clubs and
straighten you out a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Another favorite Masuka moment, I think, for a lot of people. Another one of those surprising one. I forget what season it was, but it was when you were putting out the book.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that? And then nobody showed up.
Yeah.
At your what was it?
Conference.
It was at a conference thing. You like put this thing out to everyone. You thought someone would come, and then nobody did. And there was like a level of hurt and pain that goes to what you were talking about. Because then you tried straightening up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Masuka was not telling jokes anymore. He was very professional. He became dressed up a little bit more. You weren't wearing the crazy shirts.
No. Yeah, I was wearing suit and ties. And yeah.
How'd you handle that?
No, I thought it was a great route from his normal, You
didn't miss it. You didn't miss the foul. When it came back, I guess when you started joking around again, were you sort of relieved at that point?
I think overall, I was relieved that he was sort of back to his normal self.
That'd been a bummer if you could just.
I mean, because it wasn't that much fun playing the straight Masuka. You know what I mean? It's like then the only reason he's there is to do his job. That's it.
Just say, look at this blood.
Yeah, exactly.
I found a fingerprint.
Yeah, he wasn't having fun, so he had to come back.
And then one other going down memory lane with Masuka, season 5, another moment that people talk to me about all the time. You're in that warehouse where the 2 dead guys were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and you start doing all of the hand gestures and and it goes into slow motion.
Yeah.
Did you do any research for that? People ask me that.
No, I didn't.
How much research did you think you did for that? I was like, I don't.
No, not much research. I just, sometimes
you just went.
Yeah, sometimes it's good to leave the imagination open and just use that. So,
how pleased were you when you saw that? It
was great. It was the way they shot it, the way they edited it. Because if you saw the 2 bodies there, you can use your imagination and come up with some good hand gestures as to what they were doing 5 minutes before they died.
The looks on everybody else's face as they're watching you.
Yeah, and I had a flashlight to use as a prop.
Yeah,
I think it was like a 12-inch flashlight. So I had like numerous things to use to describe what happened. So it was in a way kind of easy.
Do you find yourself improving on the set a little bit?
Sometimes less and less. I felt like I was improving a lot the first season.
Yeah.
Like first couple seasons, simply because no one really told me like what direction.
Was that like your first big TV thing?
This was like my first series. Yeah.
Because TV's way different than features.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. But at the time I didn't. No one really sat down and talked to me about where they want to see Masuka going, or So I sort of took what the writers gave me and kind of like pushed the envelope here and there a little bit, and in the end it worked out. Everyone liked what I was doing, and so I think over the years I was improvising a little more in the beginning part of the seasons, and then after we get down to like 3, 4, 5, I started doing less because the lines that you guys were writing as writers,
you helped guide us.
I didn't know. Well, no, I didn't need to improvise anymore because you guys, we were on the same page. Everyone knew who he is and what and how he's going to speak. I still do. Every now and then. If it, you never know though. You never know until on the day when you're filming it and you're there with and you rehearse it. It's not working. Then you got to do something to make it work.
Yeah. You got to make it pop. How about this? Do you think Masuka will ever be able to trust anyone ever again? He's been banged around by almost everyone that you've opened your heart to.
Yeah, no, this is true, but I think he's kind of a sucker for love, and it repeats itself. People get hurt all the time, and they vow they won't get into that kind of relationship ever again, but they do.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of people and the beauty of human beings is that's our foible,
Yeah.
So I think ultimately he probably will, see some tatas in front of his face and just kind of be hypnotized and go to them. I want to go to their
Masuka love.
Yeah, exactly.
One last thing before we sort of wrap this thing up, the laugh, the Masuka laugh.
The laugh. Yes.
Want to walk us through? Give us a little, because I think we should talk to Showtime and encourage them to put out a Masuka laugh ringtone.
That would be brilliant.
Little Masuka in your pocket.
Yeah, yeah. You know, there's a lot of ringtones that they could use from Dexter, right? I mean, they have the Dokes. What's up?
Yeah.
You know, they
Surprise.
could use that. Surprise. There's a lot of little one-liners, but Masuka's laugh sort of evolved from, again, my friend who has a funny laugh. But
you don't want to give him up, huh?
I can't give him up.
Is it your father?
I've told him before. No, it's not my father. Definitely not my father.
What do your parents think of all this?
Oh, they think it's great. I mean, they watch it, and you know, sometimes, yeah. I mean, I thought my mom would be kind of scared of the blood and the gore, but
They're way proud.
They're proud, and yeah, and they're they think it's funny.
You have siblings?
I have one sibling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, girl?
Boy, yeah, 9 years younger. He lives in Austin, Texas.
Oh wow! Is he pursuing the same route, or is he doing?
He was a musician, and he still is. But he's sort of figuring out what he wants to do, and
it's a very artistic family.
Yeah, for some reason, yeah. We don't have any relatives who are artists or anything. I mean,
your parents?
No, not even. I mean,
oh yeah,
no, not even relatives or cousins. I have one cousin who studied film, in Korea, but that's it.
Oh, yeah, you're Korean.
Korean, yes, yeah.
There's a lot of great stuff coming out of Korea right now.
There's a lot of great stuff. Yeah.
You ever think about? You ever get asked to go over there to do anything?
I would love to, but it's.
You speak fluent Korean?
I speak like a foreigner.
Yeah.
So I speak fluent Korean, but they would know.
I could see you like slaying some sort of thing, like in The Host or chasing devils.
Maybe, maybe. I'd be down.
'Cause that's a tough thing with TV, a little bit, right? I mean,
yeah,
TV roles in the States anyway, are very. They're sort of like he's the Asian guy that tells a joke, or he's quirky, or
yeah.
Does it ever frustrate you at all, or
yeah, absolutely. You know, I have as many frustrations as any other actor. I mean, especially as an actor of Asian descent, Asian American actor in Hollywood. I would like to see more. Broad-reaching, more choices in terms of characters. We don't need to see the same characters over and over again. You know, I mean, it's basically like having a bigger menu.
Yeah.
I wish there was a bigger menu for Asian American actors, and slowly it's evolving.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
And I definitely, I've had some Asian American actors come up to me and to say, I dig your character. And the fact that I don't speak, Masuka doesn't speak with an accent.
Yeah.
I think it is in a way, kind of leading. The charge a little bit. He's up there. He's definitely opened some doors for other people and the way people think about Asian American actors.
Yeah.
So which is good. It's all good. And that's
because you were on Chuck for a little bit.
I was on Chuck my first season of Dexter. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
So you had your run-ins with Yvonne before.
I did. Yeah. And that was I just did 6 episodes, but it was a fun 6 episodes. And again, I had I played a pretty crazy character, Harry Tang, and it was a lot of fun. He spoke with no accent, and he was just the regular guy. He was just the regular guy at the Buy
Buy More. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, back to the laugh. Sorry.
So the laugh. Yeah.
So walk us through how to. The Masuka laugh.
So this was a combination of my friend as well as Beavis and Butthead.
Oh my gosh! It's
Beavis and Butthead.
Never pieced that together.
Yeah. There is that influence a little bit.
Thank you, Mike Judge.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Mike Judge. When I first did the laugh at the audition, I only. At the audition.
At the audition?
It was at the audition, and I only did it just a little bit. I didn't do it a whole lot. I kind of did it like like that, you know?
Yeah.
And they were like, we like that laugh. So when I came back to the callback, the notes was, the biggest note was, we want more laugh.
Wow.
So then I had to make the laugh a little bit more full of life.
Yeah.
So then, so it sort of evolved from to sort of more sustained, and
holy cow, that's amazing that it came from the audition.
It came from the audition
start.
From the start. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was.
And it has maintained. It has been this steady thread. It's like the voiceover of Dexter and the laugh of Masuka.
Yeah. and it's fun. I mean, it's fun to throw in that laugh, here and there.
Yeah.
So it's yeah.
Yeah, we don't. I'm trying to remember. Sometimes we write in Masuka laughs, but you've discovered quite a few laughs that when we watched the dailies, we were like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing!"
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it requires it, and sometimes it doesn't. I like the ones that the slow burn laugh is, I think, to me the funniest. When you don't expect it, and it's inappropriate if you laugh, but he still does anyway.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Season 1, you laughed over a lot of dead bodies.
I did. Yeah, a lot of dead bodies. Just I did.
Yeah, you and Batista, man, has his needs, and then your laugh.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, what was that thing that we did? The reverse. No,
the reverse cowgirl thing.
No, that's a different. What's on your mind? What are you thinking of?
Huh? I don't know. I'm sitting across from you.
Yeah, the rodeo. Is it the rodeo? You doing the rodeo? Oh, you doing the rodeo?
I don't remember.
It was from the first season, and,
okay.
and on YouTube, there's a brilliant, funny version of that in Spanish. Where we're all talking. Yeah, Dexter, me, Batista. We're all talking in Spanish in that scene.
And did they have your laugh?
They do. Yeah, some guy in Spanish does my laugh.
Does it sound the same? Were you proud of it?
I couldn't remember, but yeah.
They should have kept your laugh.
They should have kept the laugh. Yeah.
So how do we do it?
So you have to sort of go deep, like
tilting
you're gonna,
his head down a little bit,
like as if you're going to talk,
right, like
Darth Vader, but then you don't, and you just kind of let it. You just kind of let it release.
That's not the same. Well, thank you so much for coming out, CS.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Scott.
703. You were amazing, and we look forward to great things.
Thank you.
Whole nother season. Who knows where it's going to go?
Who knows, man? Well,
what do you think would happen if Masuka found out? How would you handle it? Since this is the season of, Deb found out the truth.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, obviously he would have to confirm it somehow with some solid evidence.
So you find so Masuka finds some solid evidence.
Yeah.
And
then he...
Could Masuka turn him in?
I don't think he would turn him in. I think he would just kind of stay away from him.
Fear-based.
He'd be, maybe a little fear-based and just...
Suddenly everything about Dexter would fall into place.
Just makes sense.
Yeah.
Exactly. Maybe he would start treating Dexter really nice.
Start bringing him donuts.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, man. Well, thanks a lot.
Okay.
And hopefully we'll see you next year on the podcast again.
Okay, me
All
too.
Right, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Scott.
Bye. Hello, Scott, Buck, and Manny Cotto. How are we doing?
Good. How are you?
Speaking to the mic. Thanks for coming in. We got some questions. People were very, I don't know if you saw online, people are very excited about Sunshine and Frosty Swirl.
I'm excited too.
That's Manny Cotto.
That's Manny Cotto. I'm very excited. It was a good paycheck. I did it just for the money, but I needed it.
Well, we're glad you're here for the money.
My children need their food and education.
Education's important.
Right. I'm not in this for the creative high at all. This is purely a mercenary.
This coming from the guy who gave us Dr. Giggles.
That was a creative decision and choice.
Larry Drake.
My heart was into that one.
That was a good one.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about 702. A lot of people wonder how this all comes together, how an episode happens, how it gets written. I always get asked, one of the questions I get asked is like, so do you guys write, someone writes Deborah's part and someone writes Dexter's part and someone writes LaGuerta's part, or how does this all come together?
Well, the reality is that I just do it all. I just go into a room and come out with a script. About a half an hour later, everyone just stands around in amazement. How did you do that?
We pat him on the back.
I've done it again. Thank you very much. And then I go home for a week and I let the writers figure out the rest of their episodes. No, it's a very I don't want to say laborious or tedious, but at times it can be tedious. But it's a very painstaking process.
Right.
Episodes are put together
sort of
very
a group
slowly.
effort, sort of.
It's very much a group effort, and they're put together very slowly, piece by piece. It's like putting together. I'm building my kids' 3. I've been building a lot of Lego sets, and very much like putting brick by brick down. But you're looking at this instruction, and by then you can't understand how this is going to lead to a complete story. But by the end, there it is. It's all kind of the pattern has come out, and it's done basically with the writers sitting in a room.
Right, the writer's room.
The writer's room, and and kind of deciding. Sometimes we approach a scene with concepts and what's this episode about, and what does Dexter do in this episode? Where does it flow from the previous story? Sometimes we start with theme,
right?
But on this episode, we had a very kind of obvious end, which is in the end of episode 1. Deborah discovered that Dexter was a serial killer.
Right. How does he live into the truth of this a little bit?
And the obvious question is, now what?
Right.
Deborah has, a certain very limited series of choices she can do. She can make. And one, does she turn her brother in?
Right.
Does she
shoot him
on the spot? Does she get into her car and leave Miami crazy? Does she get into a straitjacket? I mean, there's so many. And, we the one thing that I think we keyed on is that Deborah loves her brother sincerely and deeply, and obviously from last season in kind of confused ways. But that love is there, and it led her to make, I think, a choice that I think we believed, which is that she's going to try to reform him, try to see if she can save him from this fate that he has, that was thrust upon him in her eyes. And so the episode so that was kind of the end of the episode, I think. And it kind of from that point on is like, how does she go about this? What is she going to do? How is she going to save her brother? And from then just to take us back to how these things are done, we start spitballing and throwing up scenes and possible ways that Deborah can do this. And
we call it breaking story.
Breaking story, exactly.
We came up with that.
Yep. We trademarked it on Dexter.
And we basically put down plot points, beats. People throw out ideas, and they slowly and ideas are discussed around the room. And the ones that seem to survive the discussion process make it onto the board. And after a week or so of this, you end up with a series of story beats. We go character by character.
Right.
Each
so
character.
We have a Dexter Deb.
We have a Dexter story, Dexter Deb story. I'm sorry, right? And
LaGuerta
and an Isaac story, and so go on and so forth. But at a certain point, we look up and we've got all the stories. The stories come to an end. They have their beats, and then we do what's called a story weave.
Right.
Which is where
it's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare. It's very difficult. I actually have a lot tough time with it because I never actually did it that way. On the other shows I worked with, we did it pretty linearly from the beginning. But I think this is a really good way to work.
On 24, actually. It was like hour by hour.
On 24, we just went beat by beat, act by act,
yeah.
Which is kind of crazy as well to follow. But anyway, here I think it's very well done. It's a good process. And then once each character's story is laid out, then we go in and weave it together, meaning which beats interweave the beats into an episode, put them together, and so that
But even before that, we do a concept. A concept is written that is sent out to John Goldwyn and Sarah Colleton first, and then Showtime.
Right. There's a 2-3 page concept, which is basically just the main themes and ideas behind the episode, and the main story moves in the episode, and those are read by Sarah Colleton and John Goldwyn, and then we take their notes, and then it's passed on to Showtime, and they give us their thumbs up or thumbs down.
Right.
And then from then we move on then we go to the story weave, where we weave the beats together,
it's
and
like
then
a 13-page outline.
Yeah, and then generate a 13-page outline, very detailed, and then that outline goes to the same process that the concept went through. It goes through Sarah Colleton and John Goldwyn, and then to Showtime, and we get their notes, incorporate those in, and then from then, then the writer disappears into the room and writes the script based on the outline, which is usually a fairly fun process because the outline is so detailed. The stories have been discussed, and the story's been discussed so much and in such precision that, I mean, in a way, you're kind of becoming an expert at episode 2 by the time you're writing it, because you know every nook and cranny. So you write the script, and then the script comes out, and then it goes back into the room where we note it. People throw
the shooting gallery,
right? The script gets torn apart.
But not yours, of course, and not Scott Buck's.
Well, never mind. Mine usually go directly to the soundstage where they're shot.
Is that what it's called? The soundstage?
The soundstage.
We make motion pictures.
We make motion pictures. My last picture, it was very exciting. All the scripts go through the same process. They go straight to the writers, and the writers, pick it apart. And what works, what doesn't work, what could be better, throw out ideas, a lot of great jokes or suggestions come in the room. Then those go back and are incorporated in. Then the script goes through the same process with Sarah Colleton and John Gowen and the studio, and ultimately we end up with a script that everybody's happy with, and then that goes to the sound stage.
And then that's how was it Sunshine and Frosty Swirl?
And that's how Sunshine and Frosty Swirl came to be.
Well, like I said, everybody loved it. I got some questions from Facebook and Twitter for you guys. If you want to answer these, just chime in when you do. Jayana on Facebook asked this question.
I won't answer any questions from Jayana.
Well,
I made that clear. I made that clear before. No.
Question is, and this goes into how we make the episodes probably too. Where was Harrison when Dexter moves in with Deborah, but without his son?
With Jamie, the nanny.
Yeah, we show it later, and that's part of the process of making shows. Sometimes scenes are there.
There was a scene actually in the episode where we kind of touched on that with Jamie, and Dexter left Harrison off, and it was very touching. Unfortunately, it slowed the pace down, and it was one of those scenes where we figured, it's pretty obvious he has someone watching the kid.
Yeah,
and so we figured it's not a plot point that's worth an entire scene to get across to the audience. Sometimes you have to make those decisions. Is the point you're making worth the entire scene? And this time we decided no.
Harrison is always safe.
We make sure of that.
Actually, what Dexter does is just kind of release him into the yard.
By the pool.
And let him fend for himself until he's done with the episode.
That's what the duct tape's for.
Right.
Deborah on Facebook asked this, and I guess this, will Deborah ever be able to fully accept Dexter for who or what he is? I feel like that's sort of the question of the episode. Well, that's
the question of the episode, the question of the season.
Yeah.
So it's not a question we can really answer here. It's because without giving stuff away. Maybe she will, maybe she won't. You'll have to watch the season 7.
This is a question. This comes all the way back from season 5. Jen on Twitter asks, is Quinn still suspicious about Dexter at all, or what's going on with Quinn?
I think that's something he sort of set aside. He probably knows deep down there's something a little odd about this guy, but it's not to his benefit to look into it, because when he did that before, it did not end very well for him. Right.
It's all has to do with the blood on the shoes that belong to RoboCop.
Because ultimately he knows that Dexter did him a huge favor when all the evidence was pointing to him as having killed someone, and Dexter took care of that evidence for him. So I think Quinn is someone who's willing to let things lie.
Benita on Facebook asked this, how will this new dynamic between Dex and Deb change the way they solve crimes there in Miami Metro Homicide?
In a fun way.
Yes. So that's our final. Thanks, guys, for coming in, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, man.
Well, there it is. The end of the 3rd Dexter Wrap-Up podcast. I can hardly believe that it's already number 3. I'm feeling a little maudlin. It's all going to end in 9 more episodes, so we got some time. Okay, I feel good now. If you have some questions after watching episode 703, next week's episode, Buck the System, that's the title, you can have a chance to get your questions answered by Scott Buck and Jace Richdale, the writer of that episode. So, again, you're probably wondering how you get your questions answered on this podcast. Well, you go to facebook.com/Dexter, post up your question, or if you're into Twittering people, and now some of you are very much into Twittering people, you know who you are. Then you can hit us up at twitter.com/SHO_Dexter. Twitter.com/SHO_Dexter. And again, make sure you go hashtag Dexter Wrap Up. It lets us know this is a question. But you want to do it before Monday night, because we compile the questions on Monday night, pick the best of the bunch, and ask them away on the podcast to Scott Buck and Jace Richdale. Now, listen, try to make your questions not about where we're going with the season, but about the episode you just watched. That way we can go, we can go as deep as you want into each episode. We got the writers here, man. Sometimes they know what they're doing. What we can't do is give up the goods about where we're going for the season. That's called, in interweb speak, I understand, they're called spoilers. And I think we don't want to do that, right? We don't want to give up stuff. What a bummer that would be. Bummer. Anyway, I want to thank C.S. Lee for coming on board. He's good people, right? He's funny. He's tender. He's not nearly as filthy as you thought. It's called acting. It was great to have him on here. I also want to thank, of course, Rob Galuzzo, a.k.a. Rob G., the producer sound guy for the podcast. Yay! That's me going yay. And I'm Scott Reynolds, one of the writers here on the show. You can hit me up at Twitter at JSCOTTAMY, J. Scott Amy. Hit me up. Sometimes I'll answer questions. I think I'll be live Twittering various episodes throughout the season. It'll be fun. Catch us next week when our guest will be David Zayas, a.k.a. Sergeant Angel Batista, also known among the Latin quarters as Angel. Did you know that guy was a New York City cop? You didn't? Well, you can find out more about that next week. He was acting and a New York City cop. I can't even imagine what it was like to go to work the next day after acting on something as a cop. We talk a little bit about that. We talk about how, he's like everybody's big brother on the show, both on and off the screen. Dude is seriously cool. Well, that's it. That's the end. But don't worry, it's going to happen again and again. Has to happen. Have a good week.